and how to get valuation out of your dollar by shifting to a whole new market that is getting ready to open up.
Might see that there is a reality. Definitely gonna be touching on that, family. Just texting the family, letting them know we live. Trying to get everybody back in the building. Yeah, I had a couple of announcements for those who didn't hear it the first time. Rod Hayes will be on Patreon later on this week with basic principles of psychic self-defense. Also, Dr. Valentine will be back on Patreon to end out this month, family. So make sure if you're a Patreon, make sure you tune into that. If you're not, you might want to sign up to Patreon and see those exclusive metaphysical videos right there. Also, make sure y'all here this Wednesday. Just like I had the panel with the brothers a couple of weeks ago, I'm gonna have a panel with the queens this Wednesday at 9 p.m. When we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I told you I was coming with the panel about divine feminine energy, the Big Mama frequency panel. So yeah, make sure you're tuning in this Wednesday at 9 o'clock. I will announce the guests tomorrow, but this Wednesday 9 o'clock, I'm gonna have a panel with the queens, and they're gonna be going in, family. All right. And with that being said, Dr. Valentine, as I said the last video before we just ended, our soul wants to know so much information. One of the most miserable things in life, Doc, is probably you work your whole life, you work hard, you become a multi-millionaire, and you're still miserable, and you still get sick, and all these things still, and then you just wonder, what the fuck, man? I tried my best, and this ain't the answer. This ain't it. Your soul is still searching for something. So this is something that no matter how much money you got, no matter how many women you could get if you a man, you ain't gonna be happy if your soul ain't right. So talk to me about what's your definition of a soul, because we're all searching for something within our soul, brother. What's your definition of a soul?
Well, the definition, you have to define around it so that you can get an idea, 360-degree idea of what it is. You said something very pertinent, as the introduction, that no matter what we do to strive on the material realm, we tend to find out that it becomes empty after a while. Whatever you achieve, you become very empty with what you possessed. And that's because the material world is an addiction. This is what Buddha spoke about. These sensations become addictions. There's a rush, just like any other drug gives you the first rush. That's the cherry high. And then after you're high enough, you seek to have that kind of adulation. But then after a while, you want to be left alone. Notice how people go out and they want to be known. Know me, look at me, feel you, see me. And then after a while, it's like, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. Well, that's to tell you that the pendulum swings. And if you're not centered, and this is where you see about finding soul energy. The soul is a resonating signature that is the connection between the material and the spiritual. And the soul is the record keeper of your physical experience, of your temporal experience. The soul etches the deepest experiences that you have that are emotional to you. Say you have a deep emotional crisis. If you are not balancing that particular crisis by understanding how to alleviate or to change the judgmental perception of what that thing is to you, you find out that your own judgment of yourself becomes that mark that you leave on your soul that becomes almost like a kilo, like a scar, like a wound. And then as you go through the birth canal again, remember, energy is never created and energy can never be destroyed. And so your thoughts become an energy signature that you create out of your own experience. And it becomes your return ticket. That damage, that need, and whatever it is you do to disrupt the balance is what it's all about. It's about maintaining and coming into balance with yourself. And all the things that you do that are outside of balance, if you're not seeking the balance, which is seeking the peace within, to understand what your thoughts are in connection to your soul, how your thoughts can override the observer, which is the teacher for the soul. It is the judge for the soul. So we tend to think that our thoughts are the only things that we need to run on. But that gas is used up very quickly because your thoughts can turn on you. Your thoughts can start dictating to you, and that's when it becomes an addiction. So what happens is your observer now must see the thought process as something that is the learning, it's a guide, it's a light, a pointer to your balance. If your thoughts are not pointing you towards equilibrium, ma'at, and a balancing of all the energies that have come through your thinking process, through your emotions, through your actions, if your thoughts are always belaboring about somebody else doing something to you, or you don't, you're blaming yourself for this, or you're blaming that other person for what you're doing, and you're not balancing yourself. The soul is taking that, it's taking notes. And what happens is some people leave with a soul heavy burdened with things that they felt that you have not accomplished. Guilt, hatred, greed, jealousy. These are what they call the 7 deadly sins, or the 7 deadly thought processes that cause you to become a recidivist. Melancholy of the entity that I was watching as a third party. And I felt a camaraderie or a connection to it, as if it was me watching me in a mirror or something. And it was fire, but then there was another part where I was sitting in a room that was dark and there were only eyes all around. It was weird. It was almost like a psychedelic trip, and no, I was not on anything, no psychotropics or anything. And when I did it, it was dealing with a hypnotic experience. It was actually dealing with a form of somnambulism and working with somnambulism and CREM. Matter of fact, I told the person who was helping me to do that what to do, because I am an advanced hypnotherapist, advanced teacher in hypnotherapy. So I told them what to do to help me to attain that state of mind, and it was really interesting because remember, I had also, when I was a child, when I was 7 years of age, I drowned. When I told you that, and that almost was like the feeling that I had when I did that. So it is possible, but you have to tap into what I found out. When you start getting technical about it, what you found out is that inside of your mitochondria that you inherit from your mother, that mitochondria that you have, that genetic particle imprint that she gives to you, is almost like a library that we need to tap into. That's why our own children coming in playing virtuoso piano, violin, and so forth. They're just picking up from where they left off. They came back to complete what they wanted to complete but could not complete. And based upon the adulation that they were seeking, they're looking for that now at a very early age. There's a group, I forgot the name of the all-black family, and you probably, your audience knows, in London, in England, and they're called the National Treasure of England. There's 7 children, and they all play their instruments like virtuoso. They're all black.
Wow.
Their mother, who was Welsh and black, and I think she was Sierra Leone, married a Welsh woman. The Welsh, they're part black, but they look white. And there was and then the father, and then, let's see who it is. Go look them up. Go look up and say 7 black children who are, you can put this in there, 7 black children who are the national treasures of England. And you will find there's one that the 2 of them, the first 2, the girl who plays the piano and her younger brother who plays the cello. Man, after listening to them, you begin to see what they did to our music here. The complications, the way that they play, and I know they're playing things like Rachmaninoff and they're playing Liszt and all of these, but that was our music. jazz is also our classical, American classical music. But where do you see our children? I was watching this BET award and it was sickening to watch what it is. I mean, it was crap, and I don't care if you don't like me anymore for saying it, but it's garbage. It's garbage. This woman talking about singing, pull my panties to the side or some nonsense like that, and y'all think that's music? It's sickening. And y'all need to do something about the music that they're showing at that BET award. And I'm sorry, I'm going to rant off, but when I saw the kind of crap that they're pushing out there, and there's, and 6 people with a mic, say something, sing something, play something. And if I want to hear you, the hell you doing with the mic? It's ridiculous. And y'all think we were looking funny in the 60s and 70s when we were dressed idiotic. But check the music that was coming out there. We looked funny in the clown costumes and stuff, but no music was like that. That was a renaissance in so-called melanated or capitol music. Today, they're not teaching. It took them.
Yeah, Doc is frozen.
There's this one beat, and it's a drum, and somebody playing something over there, or you are sampling old music. Why don't you learn the old music, copy the old music, play something or write something that matches the old music you're sampling? Why do you think the only thing they want to push is this? It's a dumb down, it's dumbing you down. The real hip hoppers, they gone. The ones who are really were trying to keep the message going, keep the beat going, keep the true music going. The arranger, a new Maurice White. Met him back in the day. Fell in love with their music. Listen to true music, and get back to that. Learn, pick up an instrument, because that's what you call a spirit catcher. An instrument is a spirit catcher. You play it. After the instrument resists you, it's the hardest thing to get. You want to play bass? You got to toughen up your fingers, and your hands got to get strong, and then you got to work through it until it becomes. All of a sudden, as soon as you free yourself from it, it begins to give you all the beautiful things that you want. But it traps you first, it enslaves you, and then frees you. That's what you have to do. You have to catch a spirit catcher. And some of the ones who are the lyricists, I hear some monstrous lyricists from the old rappers, man. It's so good to listen to hip hop from back in the days, until I think Tupac went crazy, started talking all kind of nonsense. It really hurt me. But when you start wanting to party back in the days, and one of my old guitar player friends, Nile Rodgers, he had a song called Good Times. They sampled that bad boy and up in the Bronx, and became super. Matter of fact, when they sampled Niles' music, that's when the big change took place, and they went to court and stated that since they weren't going to be taking black people playing music anymore, just the rappers, that they changed the laws of music in order for you to sample music.
Oh, okay.
Well, you couldn't. Because Niles and them went to court on Sugar Hill. And that's what changed everything. They just destroyed music. And when I turned on the BET Awards, everybody, oh, God almighty. I couldn't take it. It was hurting my heart. And I was saying, I wanted to look at it because our niece, my granddaughter, was dancing with Lizzie. And so we said, we want to see her dance with Lizzie. And she danced, saw her, and then after that, it turned into this thing. I was saying it, and then all of a sudden, somebody was outside in the audience, and they said, time to listen to the baddest music ever played. This woman came out and started singing, and the guy came out, oh. And she's singing Beatles, everything, and then he said, "Oh, I'm saying that's not the baddest music ever played by black people."
Man, Doc on one tonight, y'all. Doc is bad at the state of.
I'm sorry, man. That was what my wife told me to say something about that.
Oh man.
I'm just so let's get back on the point.
Yeah, don't let it make you that bad.
It does. I'm furious when I start looking at our brothers and sisters talking this nonsense. What pissed me off is that they flower it up. They talk the nastiest shit. Women slut themselves, and that's going to be free. That's you. You go, girl. No. That's nasty. And you're just training our young girls to be hoes. You got Cardi B talking to the goddamn president. How the hell you have Cardi B as your representative? You done lost your mind.
Okay. It's all good, Doc. Since you mentioned Cardi B, and nothing about her personally, but I just thought about children and women giving birth, and we hear all the talk about abortion right now, Roe versus Wade. How do you think souls trying to come back to this realm? How should we view abortion? Is it a good or a bad thing, or is this something that our ancient culture thought was bad for the souls trying to come back, or is this something that just has always been a part of our culture when we deal with abortion?
They knew what time it was. They knew, say rape, especially with rape. They didn't want a child. They had special herbs that they would take. My grandmother was a doula. I used to see there was a table that we had, a very small table, a very small hut that we lived in Trinidad. And babies would be born on that table in the day or the night, and then the next morning or the night, we were eating off the table. And that's what I came up with. But you have to look at the fact that the whole thing around Roe versus Wade was the follow-up to Margaret Sanger's genocide campaign, when she went after the preachers and said that the woman Norma McCorvey, she's I mean to be ranting off, but
no, I love it. Your passion. I love what we love it. We just love it. Oh, by the way, let me take.
Whoa. There it is. Chevalier de Saint George. Thank you.
That's the name. Yeah.
Yes, Joseph Malone.
They sharp in the chat.
I love it. I love these people. I love the brothers and sisters who come in here. You got a serious problem, brother.
This is a different kind of chat. This is a different kind of chat. They sharp.
I'm loving it. This is my old Jimmy Gray cells. Not working out. Getting back in order. But yes, he was a Renaissance man and was responsible for giving Mozart one of his first jobs. And he was the one, because back in those days, there were big orchestras that played for the kings. He was the one who took and made the cello, the viola, the violin, and the piano a thing, a concert piece. It was never done. It was him. And then when Napoleon took over France, he burned all of his writing, all of his music. Only a little bit of his music was left. But Napoleon hated what happened to them with the Napoleon and all the rest of them hated what happened to him in Haiti. So when this black man who had this huge standing with statues of him and all of his accomplishments, the first thing Napoleon did was to burn down and destroy his works. So you never heard about it. But you're gonna hear about it when you get my book.
Definitely. So Mozart wasn't a brother.
No, I believe that Mozart was a mix. He was, they said he was a brother, but I don't believe he was a brother. I know there was a lot of brothers, a lot of mixing. The first Germans were black. In fact, Benjamin Franklin said that when they were all migrating into Philadelphia, he wanted to put a stop to the migration of the Germans because he said they would blacken the population. Matter of fact, the German army at that time was the horsemen. Matter of fact, that's what Beethoven, or beekeeper, that's what we call him, Beethoven. Beethoven's mother was a Moor, father was a Moor, I believe, and he was one of the German soldiers that had a tryst. Look at the people who are politicians and so forth. And I didn't know this until it was a reader that told me, look at this, said, you see this you have there, where do you get that mold? And I said, I don't know, what was that? It grew actually after I could see it. When I was young, it wasn't there. It started coming out and it became prominent. But look to people like Robert De Niro. Look to people like the brother who played his brother from another planet. Look to all these people who are doing certain things in the world, and you'll see their tag. Women too.
Wow.
You know, and they say, well, look at Valentine, you getting this. No, it's just something I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
You look at people, I'm saying, what is that? Why is? And I used to say that to my mom, and my wife would say, there's that man, that mole again. And it's either on the right or the left.
Mm-hmm.
Because they understand that that's the one. And some people come back as animals. Some people, they say, come back as trees. But in some of the Hindu religions, you come back as a tree because you took so much from life. Now you want to give back to life. What does a tree do? A tree helps to keep the atmosphere breathable. So some people are actually within trees themselves, which is why in certain cultures it was a sin to start chopping down trees. Because of what a tree really is. The tree is the lungs of the earth.
July 17th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I just shared the link in the chat. You could go to that link to the web address to sign up. But as you seen earlier, there's certain things that Doc can't really touch on the YouTube platform that he touches on in depth at his webinars. So family, if you want to, and I advise you to sign up for this. If you didn't sign up for the first one, the Doc goes in for about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours. All right, family? So make sure you'll sign up to that webinar and show support to the brother Dr. Valentine. Anything you want to add on to that, Doc, before we continue?
Well, what I wanted to tell everyone, please remember that we are not the ones that are actually making the links for you to enter. Please make sure that you look into all the caches of your email, because it's going to be sent to the email that you give to them when you sign up and you make your payment. All right? And if there are any problems, please let us know. But sometimes I can't tell you while I'm on the air. I can't fix it. Sometimes we do have some people, the people who we have that are working in our admin, they have, they try to stay on board to make sure that everyone is in and satisfied. But a lot of people don't know how to even use the internet properly. They don't understand how to use the internet. And please, if you're in, please be sure that you do not raise your hand. I am not going to speak to you. Please stop raising your hand. We don't know how to shut it down, but when you raise your hand, you shut off a lot of what it is I need to read to you. I understand that you all are passionate, you want to get into it. Maybe one day, Brother Rich and I will sponsor a question and answer from the people, so we could do just an online chat to answer certain questions. But as it stands, I have to put this information down as succinctly as possible, and I can't be interrupted to answer questions, especially since the dollar's getting ready to crash. You got to look into Novotech, and I can give you the brother's number. Just tell him that I sent you. His name is Reggie Jose. Just Reggie is good. His number is 415, listen carefully, 756-5676. Once again, 415 756-5676. You got to remember now, there's going to be a whole lot of big name people, even people in the rap community, all the old heads in the so-called rap community, hip hop community, are getting on board now. And if you can get a group of people together to get into Novatech family, Reggie will drive to your state to sign you up. And he'll give you a lesson in what these black folks are doing. This black woman used to work on Wall Street. In fact, she got $10 million from some superstar actor who saw what she was doing, gave her the $10 million to get the platform going, and now she's kicking ass and taking names.
Wow.
So if you want to appreciate this, remember, I told you that the dollar is going to tank. It's got to tank. Why? Because the old system has been hoarding money, trillions of dollars, to keep this SWIFT system going. But the new XRP system, the new cryptocurrency system, is freeing up that liquidity so that all the money that all of the banks were holding on to that belong to other countries are all going to come back to them. And that's when all of your tokens rise. And that's when all of your monies are going to rise. I say get into gold and silver. These are the two that are going to be appreciated. Gold is going to hit 5,000 sometime down the road. Bitcoin is going to hit a peak coming up. Probably go to 45, 55, 100,000, and then all of a sudden crash.
When they put in their birthdays, you know how you put the month, the day, and you shorten the year, you will see that it will go. Now, if you look at the 10th at the bottom, and I separated that separately, that you can't run it that way. This is the only time you can do this. I'm sure there's a special name for this when you have the numbers going either way. So I just call them the mirror numbers for December. So these are one of the things that you will not see and enjoy. So for those of you who are bringing life into the world, believe me, this will be the only time this will happen. But without further ado, I want to bring on my very special guest. His name is Dr. Phil Valentine. Phil, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, my beloved brother.
It is good to have you on, and I need to bless King Simon. I says, how do I get in touch with Phil? He gave me a number right away. We have been knowing each other since the 80s, I do believe.
That's right.
Which means we go back a bit, okay?
All the way back.
Yeah, we're both sevens. We were talking about how the sevens follow us, and if all the numbers that are very special. You know, it's interesting with all the great religions, and they'll have their discrepancies about this God and that God. When it comes to the numbers, they all agree. I don't care where they are, whether Muslims, Christians, Hebrews, or whatever, that 7 is a sacred number.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, I know you do a whole lot. And you, first of all, you're working on a book, right?
Indeed, yes.
In fact, you already wrote a book.
Yeah, the book is called The Wounded Room.
Okay, let's start from the beginning, if you don't mind. What led you down this path, my brother?
Well, it was interesting. It was survival. I had become very ill.
Really?
When I was vaccinated in Trinidad, I almost died twice. And
On in Trinidad?
No, I was born here. My mother came from Trinidad to study nursing.
Mm-hmm.
And she, at the time, my father was fighting in Korea. She was pregnant, and I was born at Bronx Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
She was in school, and so then I went back to Trinidad to live with my grandparents, where I was raised. Most of my young life was raised on the beach in a place called Mayaro. Right there by a place called Bon Espoir Road. Right now it's got a lot of houses on it, but before it was just wild and open and beautiful. It was the ocean, trees. I used to climb, get my coconuts, get guava and mangoes and all over. that's how I came up. And then my grandfather took me to get vaccinated. And at the time I got vaccinated, my body shut down, and I was in this state of breathing that if I did not, something happened that night. I did not sleep that whole night, and I could not breathe. So it attacked my lungs, and it made my lungs weak.
And you were a child at this time?
Yes, I was
Wow.
sick. And so what happened is when I came back here, plus I also died and came back. I mean, that's another story altogether. A young boy, a young fisherman saved my life. But that's a whole other story there. And I was then buried by the people in Obia, and the women who were practicing, Obia. They buried me and put me through a particular ritual because I came back from the dead. And because it was where I lived, it was a village. It was very tight, very rural. Very rural. We lived by swamps, alligators. We lived in the bush, and so I learned a lot from bush mentality. One of my mentors was an Obia man, but that's it. When I came back here after the vaccination to live in the States, that really took a toll on my lungs because it was damaged when I was in the West Indies. One day coming back, I think it was sometime around 1979, 78, 79, 80. I was coming back from playing soccer in the field, and I collapsed on the street because I couldn't breathe. And I was 1 block from my house. And I said to myself, if I can make it, and I was talking to whoever it was, Spirit's God, if I could just make it to my stoop and die on my stoop, it's good. And I made it to the stoop, sit down there, and sat there for about an hour. And said, if I could find healing, if I could find a way to heal myself, I would then, like I was promising God, that if I learned how to heal myself, I would teach other people. And that's when, in my studies, I went to Central Park and met up with people who were learning and studying physics and so forth. And then for one day, I found out about somebody pointed me to the on 125th Street on Lenox Avenue.
UCLA.
UCLA. There you go. And so when I got there, I walked in there and I introduced myself to Tanya. And you were there. I think you were actually somewhere in there doing.
I was teaching numerology at the time.
Numerology at the time, right?
Yeah.
And so when I went in there and I immersed myself because I was a reader. All my life, I got these bad knuckles you see here from Catholic school education. These knuckles have been sore from that education. And but I loved reading, and I searched and found there was a guy named Victoras Stravinskas at the time that Kanye was actually. He had just had a book at that time.
Yeah, he just wrote a book.
He just wrote a book. That book, I just immersed myself in it, and I began to do the things, fasting, purification, the whole 9 yards. And at that point, I was in music, doing music, traveling, doing my singing and writing and recording. And so when you come home from music, you know that you're there at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock. You don't get up till 6, 7, till 11, 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I had to go out and see if I could get a job and the whole 9 yards. But my mother and my father, bless them, they're with the ancestors now. They told me, if you don't know what you want to do, stop running around like a chicken with your head off. Stop for a minute, find out what you want to do, and then target it. So I tried going into college. Went into college, got up to a 4.0, 3.8, 2.9. I said, you know what, college is boring. So I got out of it, I dropped out. And then I sat on my stoop early in the morning at one point when I came in, and I said, you know what, I'm not sleepy after coming from rehearsal. I sat down and I was reading all my books on healing and and the people would be going to work. And the people would say, hey, how you doing, Phil? Boom. Oh man, my back. I said, I didn't sleep well, I had my headache. So the people people would be telling me all about their problems, and I would say, try this, try doing that, do this, and then they would come by and they'd something and say, that worked. So I said, So that began to become my inspiration to just become ravenous with reading books. I took a course in speed reading and read over 3,500 books. But he too had one, and I attended a few of his classes, and it was just, boom, 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 boom. They were teaching you how the brain works. If you know how to elaborate on ideas, your brain will put everything together if you could just know keywords and stick with the keywords. So it was just, I know so much more. I know so much more than I remember that I know, until somebody says something that puts something in my head, and then I can say on it, speak on it. But after that, I got together because there was John Harris at that time.
Yeah.
And that's when I met with. I was there with Kanye at his table, and I was, making sure that everybody get the flyers and so forth, because I was assisting with Kanye. And then that's when I met Queen Afua. And so Queen Afua and I hooked up, and when we hooked up, I helped her to kind of build up what was then at the time Heal Thyself.
Yes. In fact, that's when I brought Joel on WLIB.
That's right. That's
Together.
when Gary had invited us onto WLIB, and from that point forward, it's been this incredible road, this incredible journey. And I remember when the time when things became a little dicey, where I broke off from everybody, was the time when HIV/AIDS had hit the community in 1984. And I, based on the fact that I had been such an avaricious reader and researcher, when that hit, I knew it was a hoax. Find yourself dreaming, for example, they call it dreaming or dream walking. They're calling it dream walking nowadays. When you find yourself in places that are vivid, these are and you're saying, well, this thing looks familiar. Or I find myself in this place, and I've never seen it on TV. I don't know what this place is. Well, you are actually going back into the mitochondrial library of your experiences, and your soul is searching through that archive for something that you had as an intention. And everything is intention. Even your soul traveling is an intention. It's a need. It's a requirement, or something that is a passion or some kind of appetite that you have not yet fulfilled. Anything that causes you to travel outside of your body means that your body hasn't gotten you there fast enough. So it has to leave the body to see if it can get to the place where you feel you need to be, but feel that you're not.
Let's get to the next question. Can Doc talk about the Polaris Star and the Northern Lights, aka the Soul Stream?
Well, that's a good one. The Polaris is the center of the chandelier. What am I mean?
Yes.
The dome spins. And you can see that it happens at such a slow speed that you don't see it happen. But the spinning of the dome is almost, it's essentially, we live in what is known as a gigantic cyclotron. And the sun and the moon are the active parts of the magnetic and electrical energies that maintain the atmosphere that we're in. Remember, we're in a closed atmosphere. Polaris is the center point where the revolution of the energies that we have, the energy signatures that we have, that keeps us alive, that keeps the terrarium that we live in active. It keeps the energy flowing. Remember, everything is movement. Everything that we're dealing with has to do with a flow. You stop it, everything becomes stagnant. That means death. What happens to just to give you a for instance, what happens to a flowing stream that gets bottled up and can no longer flow? What happens to that water? Oh, well, it's like Nick teaching my class. What happens is it stagnates and then becomes a swamp and then becomes fetid. And that water and everything around it dies. Is essentially the symbol of Polaris. Because they say that the Great Britain is the 0 point on the latitude and longitude. So Polaris is supposed to be the North Star, but it's the center point that doesn't move. And everything centers around it. It shows that we are in an enclosure. We are not swimming or hurtling through space at 65,000 miles an hour while the clouds are standing still. It's ridiculous. So if you're dealing with the northern lights and the solar stream, what you're looking at when you see the stream, when you're not looking at the stream, if you've ever watched the stream flow, you can see thousands of different ways and shapes that the water takes as it bounces over rocks or it takes on different, sometimes it pools and goes into a whirlpool and then keeps going. Well, as the dome rotates, what you're looking at is the hieroglyphics that were set in place that beamed down certain configurations that matched your brain. If you look up at the sky, you'll see that it matches succinctly the electrical patterns in your brain. The star clusters and the star configuration match the way your neurons work. So what you got is a synergism. And of course your soul is interacting with that. Because the brain essentially is controlled by the heart. And the heart itself, there's a brain in the stomach, a brain here in the heart, and a brain up here. This one is the spiritual brain, this one is the material brain, and this one is the one controlling both of them. Where you, in the upper room, Christ, are having the last supper or the last meal. With all 12 of your apostles, who the 12 apostles were? The 12 signs of the zodiac. He was the 13th, or Ephesus, which they took out of all of the procession of the zodiac. There was a 13th sign, and it was the sign of the alchemist. They took that away. In between Sagittarius and between Sagittarius and I think it was Capricorn, or it was between Scorpio and Sagittarius. Yeah. You'll find out. But they took Ephesus away from out of there because of what it represented. If you focus on that part, you would see that that had a lot to do with the evolution of the soul at that point. Because that's what alchemy was. Alchemy was changing from the body consciousness into the soul and spirit consciousness. So if you're dealing with the so-called northern lights, the northern lights are essentially nothing more than the north part of here. If you talk about this part here, right here, this front part is north. Okay? This south part here, which is the passion. North is the place where your frontal lobe is. The frontal lobe is where reason takes place. That's why you see the Moors talk about coming out of the what? North gate. The south here, which is essentially the serpent brain, that's the passion brain. So this is north, this is south, this is east, this is west. I can't explain it any further than that until I have to give you prerequisites to what I'm talking about. But that's a capsulation of it.
Indeed.
See me talk about a book that was written by Val Valerian. That was called, you remember?
The Matrix books?
Right,
Yeah,
Matrix
yeah.
books.
Yeah.
Remember what he's saying, that there are entities that have set up technologies that when you pass on, they have the way of trapping that energy that is left and trapping it to the point where it puts it, if you don't know you don't take the consciousness of awareness with you at your death, then that soul is trapped and placed back into the body they want, which is normally a body that is actually going to grow into a drone. So you have to be very mindful. You have to become seriously conscious of what you are first and who you've become, and are ready to jettison the fear of death. That's what we teach at our university, to take on the shaman's mentality of life. Because life, to them, all of it was a preparation for the moment of your death. Because at the moment of your death, if you do not leave your body consciously and with joy, because they say, my whole life flashes ahead of me, before me. That's the time when you are going through an assessment. That's the judgment day. That's the point where you're being judged. You're not being judged by some God in heaven and you're going to sit there with Peter's book and all this bullshit. You are now setting up, when you're looking back in your life, what have you done? What are you sorry for? What are you happy about? All these things are going to flash back because they're memories in the subconscious. As you're leaving the body, the subconscious is leaving with it. So the subconscious starts shooting all kinds of information to the conscious mind. And so you say, well, my whole life is passing before me. Yeah. What have you placed into that cache? What have you placed into the vault of your subconscious? And when that time comes and it's open, what are you fearful of? What are you ashamed of? Have you left anything that would be a legacy to make someone else greater than you? Remember what I always taught? That if a teacher isn't teaching the student to be greater than he or she, then that's a pimp. And that's what we here at the university believe. That's what I want to make everyone that I touch greater than me. Because you're the future. Suppose I want to come back through one of you all, and you're dumb as fucks. What I'm going to do? Who's going to teach me who I am and what I am? I want to come back to youth who are brilliant in spirit as well as technology. And if I'm going to come back and be raised by a mother and father like that, then I'm going to just hit the ground running. Otherwise, I'm going to take the mindset that I have and become the best criminal there is. It depends. How are you leaving? What have you left? How you're leaving and what you've left.
Doc is giving some deep answers to your questions, family. I hope y'all appreciate what this man is doing. One way to show your appreciation is to sign up for his webinar, as well as if you even want to go even deeper, sign up for the Brothers University. I think that's for when you serious. You know what I'm saying, family?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. We're going to take about two more. You got two more questions you can take, Doc?
Yeah, sure.
Let's take two more questions and then we're going to get out of here, family. But I definitely got about 3,300 people in the chat. Definitely appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. Let's get to this question. Can getting beat as a child suppress your soul?
Oh, yeah. Well, what did you do to bring that particular karma to you? And you get the parent that actually is curbing what it is that became an appetite that destroyed you in a previous life. You chose your own karma to bring you back into balance. Is this what you did to someone else? But you come back as a child now, and of course, being a child, you know, it's, oh my God, how you can talk like that, Dr. Valentine? That's a child. Yeah, it's a child today in this life. But what was it before? I don't mean it to impersonalize it. Who was he or she before? And so, no, it's not good to be the child. I got my ass whipped if I did something wrong and kept doing it. The belt didn't get to come down until you did it 2 or 3 times. But I remember my grandfather was a priest. He came up as a priest. My mother told me about his stories about him being tied to the bed. All of this kind of stuff. And when I saw what was going on with me, and my father was military, straight up military killer, a lot of bodies, mentally, learned a lot from him, got burnt by him. And And then when I came to that particular resolve, I said, I ain't never gonna do that. Why? Because I was the one who was gonna stop it right here. And I did. And every time I would have any kind of chastisement, you can ask my son. I wouldn't beat on them. What I would do is talk to them right in their face. And then what would happen is, since the limbic system and the frontal lobe is where you have your highest thoughts, I used to take my knuckles and this be his head, and I would go, is anybody in there? And that would drive him crazy. He hated that. But he got it. He got it, because every time he do something stupid 2 times, 3 times, that's when I would knock at that part of his highest mind. Where is anybody in there? Are you occupying this part of your brain? So no, I don't condone beating on the child, but I have to look at it compassionately, like an intelligence. The intelligences are there to dispassionately look at the movements of life and just make sure that whatever you're doing is in balance. If it's not in balance, the intelligences move in and force you back into balance. And that sometimes is what comes out as the brutality or as the accident that takes lives of cripples and so forth. There is no accident.
Let's get to this question, Doc. This is going to be the last question for tonight, family. Can Doc explain the star Betelgeuse's dimming and its relevance in Egyptian cosmology?
Betelgeuse is supposed to be this incredibly bright star that's supposed to be coming into our reality. This is what I learned. The dimming is temporary. There's going to be a burst of light coming out of that region of the dome that is going to light up the sky so that there's no more night. This was what was prophesied. And as far as its relevance in Kemetic eschatology, that star itself was essentially Bethlehem, supposedly, the house of bread. It was supposed to be coming that tells of a new paradigm, a structural paradigm, but it was supposed to light up the sky to the point where it was supposed to be some kind of explosion, but it wasn't an explosion. And as far as Betelgeuse is concerned, it also is supposed to be a representation of Lucifer.